Alright, Story Lads, this is Richard. This is my first proper YouTube video, so cheers for watching. What I'm going to do is go over the tier list that I made, right? And this tier list is of what I consider to be the best Sonic games in order. I was doing this with a couple buddies of mine over Discord, and we were having a laugh saying, oh, what was good, what was bad, what was a bit rubbish, and there's a lot of rubbish. But this is how my tier list looks, right? And now straight away you're going to be like, alright, some of this makes sense. What is Sonic Unleashed doing in D, right? What is Shadow the Hedgehog doing in B? Why is Sonic Riders in B? And I'm sure, like, right, I'm done watching this video, so it's a bit far-fetched, let's say. And I thought it would be fun to explain why I put everything where it is. So for this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk over each game briefly. Now, it's going to get progressively, smaller as I go on. So with each game, I'm going to explain why I put it, where I put it. But I'm going to chat less about each game as I go down, because if I go on forever about every single one of them, this will be an hour long, and I don't think anyone has the time, to be honest. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll go straight into the first game on my list. Right, first game on my list, Sonic Mania. I'm going to include Plus, so Sonic Mania Plus. It's a no-brainer now. Do you know, this is the best Sonic game since Rush, I would say. So that's like 11 years. So it's brilliant. It's only 15 quid as well, or 18 quid, even 20 if you want to get the physical with the art book and stuff. It's such a great game, and it's been 3 years now since it came out, even, and I am shocked that Sega haven't released some kind of sequel. It's a bit of a joke, to be honest. But yeah, they brought back some characters, Mighty and Ray, in the extra plus version, and I would say that's the version to go for because it has the most content, obviously. Beautiful graphics, great music. T-Lopes did amazing stuff with that. I can't recommend the game enough, so that's why I have that there, top of the pops. It's not actually my favorite Sonic game. It's just the first one there because it was the first one when I pulled up the tier list. It was the first one I put there. Just instantly, it was like the first one I put in there because it's like, duh, it's one of the best Sonic games ever made. And it's got a strong case for being the best 2D game, which is really impressive. The lads that made it have created a studio together, so I'm looking forward to whatever projects they get onto. Christian Whitehead, Stealth, and the other lads. Fantastic stuff they've done with Sonic Mania Plus, which everyone should buy because it's bloody good. Second game up, Sonic City. This is my favorite 2D Sonic game. I know a lot of people don't like that it's adventure focused. That it's very up and down rather than left to right. It's got a lot of kind of exploring up and down, and it's got kind of closer to Sonic 1 based gameplay. It's a little bit slower. I don't mind that. I know a lot of people want just raw speed in their Sonic games, and if they don't have it, they get upset. And I do think speed has to be an element, but I feel like it needs to be earned, and you can't earn speed in Sonic City. It's not like it's a slow game by default. There are some levels now where they're constantly halting your progress, like in Wacky Workbench, let's say. But in general, I think you can finish the levels really quickly if you want to. I think it gives you options, and options are good, right? So it doesn't follow the standard Sonic, 3 route formula. Higher is the fastest, middle's middle, and the slower path is the lower one. That's usually how it works. Not really with Sonic City. I think it's got the best special stages of any Sonic game. And that's including Sonic Mania, which I just talked about. Those special stages are like the second best. I love the UFOs. I love the UFO stuff. Collecting time stones, and it gives you the option, I talk about options with Sonic City, of chasing down the generators instead and destroying those instead of going for the time stones. So you don't even have to do the special stages. It's a game full of options, and that's what I really like about it. On top of the amazing intros and the fantastic music. If you're playing the European or Japanese versions, the American soundtrack is a bit awful. But they still choose to make remixes of it, so they mustn't be all bad. I don't think it's that good though. I think it's if you're gonna play a version of Sonic City, you have to play the Christian Whitehead version. He made Sonic Mania with Stealth and the rest, and he's made a bunch of his own stuff that's really good. He made the ports of Sonic 1 and 2 on mobile, which I'm shocked aren't on console yet. He made this the Sonic CD um, port on consoles that added Tails as a playable character, lets you switch between the soundtracks in multiple save files. It's like the definitive version to play that game. And so widescreen is what I think. Highly recommend that one. I really love Sonic CD. It's the sprite work, the music, the stage design. It's very unique, I think, and that makes it stand up above a lot of other Sonic games, I think. And I don't think any game since has been similar to it. Um, and I think that's a shame because it takes the best elements of Sonic 1 in my opinion and makes them better and improves on them. Whereas Sonic 2 I think went in a completely different direction to Sonic 1. And I know a lot of people don't like Sonic 1, and so using that as the basis for a sequel probably annoyed a lot of people when Sonic 2 made a lot of people happy because it went in a different direction. I disagree, kind of. I prefer Sonic CD, Sonic 2, and Sonic 1 to Sonic 3, and Sonic Mania even. If there was an SS tier, I'd probably put it there, right? But there isn't, so I didn't. Sonic CD, I think it's worth your time. It introduced a lot of main characters, and a lot of people have done videos about why they don't like Sonic CD, and they just think because the game was very hard to get for a long time, because you had to have a Sega CD, or you need to get the Gems collection. It was the only way to play it until the console re-releases. I can see why people would say, "Oh, it's not really a hidden treasure." As people thought it was, is what a lot of people were saying. No, it's definitely a hidden treasure, and it's more widely known now because of its intro and the style that it has is so unique. Sonic CD, you have to play it. It's so good. Third on my list here, on the S tier, I have Sonic Rush. Sonic Rush is so bloody good. Right, I introduced Blaze the Cat for one, and she's like the best female character in the series. She's she's really badass. She controls flames, duh, and she's the princess of her own dimension. But she doesn't sit back like Elise or whatever and just get kidnapped. She's fun to play as. She's quick. Um, a lot of shortcuts in the game are kind of designed around her flame ability, so she can run straight through fire. Sonic can't. So a lot of the level design kind of goes with that. She can float for a little while too. She's quick, obviously, and her focus is on collecting the Soul Emeralds rather than the Chaos Emeralds, so she can get her Burning Blaze form in the final boss and so on. Sonic Rush it was the major game to introduce the boost style. It wasn't Sonic Heroes first, but it was different. It didn't really work the same way. Sonic Rush is the one that kind of introduced how the boost formula works now in most modern titles up as recent as Sonic Forces, and that's going to be a point of contention for a lot of people. I think it's good. Um, the level design suffers a little bit, so it's not like on the same level as Sonic CD in terms of exploration, because it's focused on you going quickly. But in terms of going quickly, I think it's the best 2D game to fulfill that, right? So because of the way that the level design is focused around you boosting through enemies and stuff, it's a little bit flatter, but it's also got a lot more set pieces that make it more interesting. Um, and Sonic Rush Adventure did that as well, with a lot of catapults and stuff in the gameplay. I think it's also got some of the best music in the whole series from Hideki Naganuma, Jet Set Radio fame, and his stuff, Back to Black is great. Uh, what You Need is another sick track. Um, Sonic Rush is an amazing soundtrack, and that's uh, complementing the style of the game, which is very kind of late 2000s Sonic, dancing and all that kind of stuff. Attitude. It's still got that adventure art style, which I really like. That kind of got dropped from 2010 on, for the most part. Yeah, I'd recommend Sonic Rush. It's not been re-released. It's only on DS. So if you happen to have a 3DS or a DS laying around, you can get Sonic Rush dirt cheap. It's not hard to get it. It's just that it's on the one console. So if you don't have that, tough luck. I doubt it'll get a re-release too, because it was designed with the two screens in mind, with the way Sonic moves from one to the other, up and down for the higher and lower routes, um, which is really fun to watch and play. But I can see why that makes it difficult to re-release. It may have come out on the Wii U eShop. I'd have to double check that. But if it did, that's another way you can get it. It probably cost like a tenner. But that wouldn't be the optimal way to play it. Playing DS games on Wii U is kind of awkward anyway. Um, so that's where I'd stand on anyway. Sonic Rush. I have that in DS tier. I think a lot of people would be with me on that one. It's a great game. Last on my S tier, I have Sonic Adventure 2. Okay, so I'll have to explain this one more time. So a lot of the reasons that people say this game isn't good is because only a third of the game is fun, and they point towards Sonic and Shadows levels, which make up the minority of the game. It's got the least of the three, right? Because you have the mech stages, you have uh, the emerald hunting stages, and you have the car races and stuff as well. On top of that, and I understand why this hasn't sat well with a lot of people. Especially if you don't like the mech stages or the hunting stages. And I would agree that the hunting stages kind of went step down from Sonic Adventure, with the way they changed the radar system. And the level design became more open, which makes it more impressive to look at as a spectacle. Stuff like Meteor Herd and Mad Space is really cool to look at, but it's kind of annoying to play. Um, Aside from those two levels, though, I think the treasure hunting is great fun, and I think it was blown up proportion out of how bad it is. I don't think so. And the mech stages, some of those are the best in the game. I love Mission Street. I love Root Hills. I love Gravity, or Cosmic Wall. Sorry, with Eggman. I love that level too. And there's a bunch of mech stages that I prefer over Gamma stages in Sonic Adventure 1, which were also mech shooting stages, but they just weren't as entertaining. I didn't like the timer mechanic, and that brought that game down a bit for me. So if I was when I was comparing them, I was like, well, my favorite 3D Sonic game is just by instinct it was Sonic Adventure 2. The story, again the music, Jun Tsunoi was at his best, Crush Warrior, we were at their best at this era. I like the way they introduced Shadow and Rouge. Rouge is a popular character now. Shadow's a super popular, second most popular in the whole canon. And yeah, I think it's also the first game to kind of introduce kind of a comical side to Eggman, because just before that in Sonic Adventure 1 they kind of made him a bit more intimidating, and in this one there's bits there where he's intimidating, where he's threatening to kill Amy. He does think he killed Sonic. That lines up with away before I make mincemeat out of you in Sonic Adventure 1. So they got that kind of intimidating part of him nailed down, but then there's another bit in Sonic Adventure 2 where he's watching Shadow on the television and he scratches his hole, so like they nailed the comedic and the intimidating part of Dr. Eggman. Dean Bristol was a great voice actor and really nailed the character. I prefer Mike Pollock in general, but that's only because I've grown up with that voice and I spent more time with that voice. I think all the voice performances in Sonic Adventure 2 are really good. It's worth talking about more than in Rush and CD and Mania, because there isn't much voice acting in those. There's only little bits. Sonic Adventure 2 is full of it, and I think for the most part it's pretty good. Tails is the only kind of dodgy voice, but up until Sonic Colors, I'd say he's never had a good voice. That's where I stand on it anyway. I do think, Sonic Adventure 2 is a great game. It's content packed, it has aged very well, especially compared to Sonic Adventure 1, which hasn't aged well at all. And I think, if there's rumors of Sonic Adventure 1 being remade, I think it would need it more than Adventure 2 would. And a lot of people still love Adventure 2 now. Every time it gets re-released, it's in the Dreamcast collection or on the PS3 store. The battle version on GameCube was the first one I played. Every time it comes out, everyone just buys it and it does super well. I hope it comes out on Switch. I think it should do. So that's where I stand in Sonic Adventure 2. That game is fantastic. Live and Learn is one of the best songs ever made. And destroying the Bio Lizard is good fun. Sonic Adventure 2 is fantastic. On to the A tier, and we are going to talk about the first game here, and that's Sonic Advance 2. Sonic Advance 2 is the best game in that trilogy, in my opinion. It's similar to Sonic Rush in that it's focused on speed, and level design has suffered a little bit as a result of a lot of bottomless pits and stuff, which kind of became the DIMP's de facto way of spotting their gameplay. Level design. It first introduced the trick system. It's got this really cool kind of Sonic X-like art style, which I really like. It introduced little melee attacks that all the characters could use, which Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic Heroes, when you're playing as one character, also had, and Sonic 06 obviously had that as well. So yeah, I think it worked best in Sonic Advance 2. It was another way to attack. Knuckles got a punch, and Tails got a swipe and stuff. The trick system was really cool because you could attack with the tricks as well as build space and momentum, so you could enemy hop with like a right trick or in that one Willman level, you would need to do an up trick, and a lot of people that died in that level because they didn't know that the trick system was even in the game. Sonic Advance 2 was some of the most unique stages in the series. The lava crater stage is sick. Music Plant is amazing, and again, this game is a fantastic. You're gonna hear me say it's a fantastic soundtrack a lot because a lot of Sonic games do. Sonic Advance 2 was another one, and it introduced Aim. It was the first appearance of Cream, I think. This is Cream's first game, and she's broken in this game. She can destroy every enemy like it's nobody's because she uses cheese as a mobile attack unit, basically. And Amy, I think you can unlock if you beat the story modes for every other character. The Chaos Emerald hunting is a chore in the advanced games, and that's something I'll talk about later, especially with Advanced 3, where it's just ridiculously complex. Um, in Advanced 2, it's collecting medallions, which, in the whole series, every time they do medals, it just doesn't work. And I don't know why they keep trying and try to push it. I'm glad they settled on red rings. Red rings are a lot better, and they're not mandatory. Mandatory collectible items in Sonic games are a nightmare. And again, we'll get onto that later with one particular game there in D. I think you know which one I'm talking about. Grand, right? So Sonic Advance 2, fantastic. Sonic and Sega All Stars Racing. This game is a really good kart racer. It's hard to recommend it now because I think, while it's got some unique levels, it's got some unique characters like Jackie Nakara from Virtua Fighter fighting, and a couple of other characters that didn't make to the next couple of racing games. So I think it does have merit, and it's still worth going back to. The Sega Mile system is pretty good. Again, amazing music. But I think the games after it were better. Now, Team Sonic Racing isn't on this list. I would have actually put that in A tier and put this in B tier if it was there, because I think that game is better. And it's the most recent Sonic title too. But yeah, it's still really good. It's still a good racing game, but I think there are better ones in the series alone. And it's rated this highly basically because graphically it's really good, the music's really good. It's available on a lot of platforms to play, and it's got a lot of characters. It had console exclusive characters. Banjo-Kazooie were in the Xbox version. A lot of people seem to forget that, but they were. They had their own little console vehicle adventure that didn't land as well as this one did. And this was a sequel to Sega Superstars Tennis, which was a fantastic game on PS2 and Wii. And a lot more people should play that game because that game's really good too. Aside from the iToy game, which is still fun for a laugh, but it's not really good, all the Sega Superstars games are really good, and I'm really excited for the next one. Whatever that turns out to be, the Sonic Heroes mobile game, or the Sega Heroes mobile game that just got canned, that had a lot of characters that I really like, especially with the resurgence of Yakuza games. I think they could do a lot more now with a big crossover game. I'd like to see a fighting game. So I hope that's next in the Sega All Stars lineup. Sonic and Sega All Stars Racing, really good game, highly recommend it. Good arcade racer. But I think that the other Sonic game on this tier list from the All Stars series is the best one. And I'll get onto that in a minute. Alright, so the next one on the A tier is Sonic Generations. Sonic Generations is talked about by everyone as one of the best Sonic games ever made. And I'd imagine a lot of people will put it in their S tier. And I would understand if they did. I'm not going to, because I think that the missions that they add on to the game, there's 9 basic zones, classic and modern. And it's a very short game, but a lot of Sonic games are, especially the best ones. 3 hours long, 2.5 hours if you're quick. It's not great on content. It gives you a full playable version of Sonic 1, which is really sick. And Sonic Generations is a really fun game. It's got the best version of Crisis City of any Sonic game, unfortunately. It's not much that it's up against. I think parts of Sonic Generations aren't as good as what I remember them being. Towards the end of the game, their Planet Wisp is a stage I just hate going back to. I think it's rubbish, especially in comparison to the Sonic Colors version of that stage. And the missions again, fighting musical notes with Vector, or using Amy to get pushed up stages in Chemical Plant, where her hammer, her Pico Pico hammer, it's not fun. The only fun one is like the one with Tails, where you can summon him and he'll fly you to an area. Or the race against Knuckles, it was okay in Green Hill Zone. But for the most part, those missions are just kind of boring, and I hate that they're mandatory. To get the boss keys and stuff, you need to do a couple of those as well. But they do net you, great artwork and selectable music, and the soundtrack for this game is ridiculous. The amount of people that they've gotten to do new remixes of old songs. Cash Cash came back, Zebrahead came back, Crush 40 came back. Jun Sonoy got a lot of contacts with this game. And it's his last major work aside from Team Sonic Racing, so it's his last main series work, and it's some of his best. I think Team Sonic Racing is actually his best work with the series so far, which is incredible considering how good his stuff is. But Side Generations, I think there are parts of it that aren't as good as I remember them being. It's just because it felt good at the time, and it's a big nostalgia cash grab. I don't detriment games for taking things that people liked and then using them again and again and again. But Sonic Generations kind of started the trend of, oh, let's bring back Chemical Plant, or let's bring back Green Hill Zone. And this one got a pass because it's an anniversary game, but then Lego Dimensions did it, and then the Sonic mobile games did it, and then Sonic Forces did it, and the Sonic Racing games did it. And so you're seeing Green Hill Zone every 2 minutes, and it's a good level, but you get sick of it. And so I think retroactively, because of the games kind of copying and pasting stuff, later. It's kind of made me like Generations a little bit less than I used to. But that's taken my own kind of bias aside. I think it's a really great game, and I recommend it to everyone. Just there are parts of it I think aren't as good as they used to be, as a result of things that have released since. But it's still, I can't recommend it. Even the 3DS version is still pretty good. It's like a Sonic Rush game. And it's got unique bosses and stuff like the Death Egg. Not the Death Egg, but the Egg Emperor from Sonic Heroes, and a couple of other unique levels like Water Palace from Sonic Rush, which is a fantastic level. I can't talk about Sonic Rush enough for getting, talk about how much I love that game. But yeah, Sonic Generations, great game. Highly recommend it. Anything in the tier, obviously, I highly recommend them. I'm going to say that for all of them. But there are things that it's done to the series that Sega thought, okay, let's keep doing that because that's a good idea. And unfortunately, as a result, it's kind of stifled creativity a bit. And there's a game here that's really creative. I'm going to talk about in a minute. On the A tier that I feel like looks better now as a result of the sameness of the last Sonic game since. And we'll talk about that. Okay. Next one is Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure, again, I talked about this with Adventure 2. It hasn't aged great. There's a lot of glitches in the game. The models don't look great. The environments don't look great anymore. But it's still so fun. It's the boss fights are really good. The story's still pretty engaging considering how old it is. The voice acting is not great, to be honest. But I still like a lot of the voice actors. I love Ryan Drummond Sonic. I love Scott Shear as Knuckles. I obviously talk about Team Bristol's amazing Eggman. He's still really good in this game too. He's probably the best voice in this game. But it was early 3D, so people are still kind of getting their footing with voicing video games. Sonic Adventure, 6 gameplay styles. A lot of people will talk about, okay, only half it's good. And to be honest, I agree with them. I think Sonic Tails Knuckles are still really fun, racing Sonic with Tails. Or, the rap with Knuckles. Big isn't fun. He's like Aldi Sega Bass Fishing. It's a bit awful. But he only has like 3 levels, so you can get over it, and it's not a big deal. It only takes up like an hour. I think his story mode is like an hour if you know what you're doing. Gamma, I talked about his levels. I don't like the timer mechanic. I think that kills a lot of it. I think he made his Hot Shelter level a bit difficult as a child. It took me forever to get past Hot Shelter to fight I think it was Epsilon in that stage. I'd have to double check that. But that level, with there's a train section there that you kind of have to use to build up your timer, and it's not fun. I don't really enjoy Gamma stages as much as I do Eggman and Tails Walker stages in Adventure 2, which is why I rank it higher, to be honest. And then there's Amy stages, which are the worst to play in my opinion. They're super slow. Zero is no threat at all because even when you make him invincible after hitting him a few times, he's really easy to outrun, even with Amy being super slow. She only has a couple of stages, and there's like block puzzles in 3D with color coding in the Hot Shelter stage again, which is really stupid. And it's hard to recommend playing as Amy, but you have to if you want the final story. Now the final story boss is one of the best in the series, and it had a really faithful recreation in Sonic Generations, which is still really cool. Open Your Heart is still one of the best. Again, the soundtrack. I think they were called Sons of Angel at this time. Crush 40. They weren't Crush 40 yet. I think they were Sons of Angels, but they're still really good. Johnny Gioeli's vocals are great. Jon Snowy's songwriting is great. Um, he's got a really good understanding of rock, and I think it goes past language barriers. So even when he's writing stuff in English, it still sounds really good. And it's got some of the best stuff. Even Knuckles' rap, which is in Adventure 2 also, I think is really fun. It's got a good mix of music, whereas I think Adventure 2 was kind of more rock focused for the most part. Adventure 1 is a good variety of music, which I think that makes a lot of people like the soundtrack more. I prefer rock, so Adventure 2 is more up my alley. But I can see why people would like Adventure 1's more. And some of the stages in this game are really iconic. Red Mountain's really famous, which is the one I think should have came back for Sonic Generations, and not Speed Highway, which is still a really good level. But that game had too many silly levels to begin with, so that's part of my problem with that. Sonic Adventure 1 is available, again, the Dreamcast collection. It was one of the 4 games on that, I think. It's on the PS Store. It's still on Dreamcast, on Sonic Adventure DX on GameCube, which plays Metal Sonic if you caught all the emblems. That's still available there. I hope it gets another re-release again, because Sega just don't like doing re-releases of their best games, which is really annoying. Sonic Colors has been trapped on Wii for 10 years now, which is ridiculous. Speaking of Sonic Colors, great game. This is the game I was talking about when I was talking about creativity. It's one of the most unique Sonic games in terms of level design. It's got taken the idea of an Eggman interstellar amusement park. So it's taking Eggman Land to space, basically. And it let them really go with their creative chops, and they were able to do stuff that they wouldn't be able to do if they went for Green Hill Zone again and Chemical Plant again. The aquatic mine or the aquatic park level is really good. Starlight Carnival is one of the best stages in the whole series, in my opinion. Can't even think about it. The game just makes me really happy. It's got an amazing soundtrack. The gameplay is really fun. I like the Wisps, especially in this game. I think they're okay in Generations and they're fine in Lost World, but they're great in this game. And I would highly recommend Sonic Colors. Again, you have to go on Wii to play it. With Sonic Colors, I also really want to briefly mention the Eggman PA announcements that are in the levels. They're hilarious, and Mike Pollock was in his best form recording those. Those are really funny. Okay, so Sonic Colors. I don't need to say more about that game, do I? Highly recommend it. It's hard to get now because it's only on the Wii, and I hope it gets re-released someday. But I could go on forever about how good that game is. I'm just not going to. I also want to say I brought back Playable Sonic Supersonic in stages. Sonic 4 Episode 1 had this as well, but this is the first 3D game to do it, because none of the games, Supersonic was always relegated to the last level in 3D games, but not in Sonic Colors. Thankfully, you can play as him in the main stages, and it's as sick as you think it is. Alright, so that's Sonic Colors. Highly recommend it. Always spell it with a U. The best racing game in the series is Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. There's no Sega in the title, but all the Sega characters are still in it. I don't know, maybe they just thought the Sonic game was more popular. It basically took the Diddy Kong racing style of having flight and standard racing, but they added the boat mechanics from Mario Kart 7, essentially. So it's not original, but it's so cool the way the levels change as you play the game. You could be playing on a Panzer Dragoon stage, and it starts on the ground, the floor breaks apart, and then you're flying, and then you're stuck going through a lava pit or something. And the music changes with the level design changing dynamically, and it's really good. The character representation is a lot more diverse than the original game, I think. It's got Shinobi, it's got Skies of Arcadia in this one. It featured, and the PC version featured a couple of exclusive characters. They brought back Ryo Hazuki from Shenmue in that version, and it had like the Team Fortress 2 character and the football manager from the Football Manager series. It was very strange. But yeah, Sonic Racing Transformed had an amazing soundtrack too. There's no shocks there. Graphically, I think it looks significantly better than the one before it. I think it's more fun to play. Uh, I think it's got some of the best stages in any Sonic racing game. I love the Curian Mansion stage, the House of the Dead one. It's so good. Um, yeah, highly recommend Sonic and Knuckles. I can't say very much about this game. The roster is good. It had kind of like a semi-story mode where you went on a world tour collecting stars through mini games and stuff. The mini games could be pretty difficult, but they weren't bad. Uh, there's not much to say really about this game. It's just a really fun arcade racer. Sega are just really good at making them. Daytona USA, these Sonic All Stars racing games are really good too. Team Sonic Racing is really good. So you can't go wrong with any of the Sonic Kart racing games, except for the Game Gear ones, which I'll talk about very, very, very briefly at the end of the video, basically, because they're both down there at the bottom, as you probably saw. Alright, so Sonic All Stars Racing, get it because it's good. I think it's on Wii U, it's on PC, it's on PS3 and 360. So get it if you can. Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Okay, so they're separate on the tier list, but I'm just gonna count them as one because they are one. It's one of the best 2D platformers of all time. You know, the music's iconic, the stages are iconic. It introduced Knuckles, who was my favorite character in this whole series, which shocks a lot of people every time I say it. But yeah, I love Knuckles. Um, yeah, Sonic 3 Knuckles is a great game. It's really long too. If you combine the two of them, I think it's the longest 2D game, including Mania. If you play both back to back, I would say maybe Knuckles has the weaker stages of the two. I think Sonic 3 has the better stages, Ice Cap, Launch Base Zone, are a lot better than the Flying Battery Zone or Sandopolis Zone, which aren't as good. But then it's also got stuff like Sky Sanctuary, which is one of the best stages in the whole series. Death Egg Zone is really fun, which is brought back later as well, unfortunately. Yeah, there's a lot of really good stages in those games. The music's great. It's got some of the best creative level design in the series. It took the best elements of CD and 2 and combined them into one. So there's stuff you can do, you can find if you explore. But if you just want to rush through the levels, you can, and you'll find a fair bit. It's pure good that way. Yeah, so Sonic 3 Knuckles, you can find it on a lot of older collections. Sonic Classic Collection on DS. The Sonic Mega Collection has it. With the lock-on technology too. Uh, it's not been re-released very much since Sonic Classic Collection on DS. Apparently there's a rights issue because of Michael Jackson's music. Apparently the Michael Jackson estates won't let them re-release it. So there's some big technical issue with Sonic 3 Knuckles. Every time Sega have done a collection recently, like the Sonic Mega Drive collection or the one on Switch, the Mega Drive Classics, the Sonic 3 isn't on them. Sonic 3 Knuckles, which is really annoying. I'm not sure what the issue is there. So it's a little bit more difficult. You have to go to older consoles to get it, but it's worth your time because it's really good. It used to be on the Wii shop, but unfortunately you can't go onto the shopping channel anymore. And obviously it's available on the original Mega Drive with lock-on technology. Highly recommend it. Sonic 3 is fantastic. And that wraps up the A tier. Alright, onto the B tier. I'm going to go a little bit quicker because this video will go on forever if I keep talking at length about the games as I've done so far. B, Sonic Lost World. Sonic Lost World is a fantastic video game. I don't know why everyone says it isn't. It got a lot of flack on Wii U for trying to be different. It introduced a parkour system and a more spherical level design, which felt kind of closer to Colors and Mario Galaxy at the same time. You can tell it was clearly inspired by. Izuka said it wasn't inspired by Mario Galaxy. It definitely was. I think it's a lot of people don't like the Deadly Six. I think they're fun villains. They're a bit one note, but there's nothing wrong with them. I think the way Sonic interacts with them is pretty great. I really liked Zaz and Zeke. Uh, not as big on Zavok, but Sega loves Zavok. That's why he keeps coming back. The soundtrack for that game is great. The main theme in Sonic Lost World, Wonderworld, is the best track in the game. Aside from the Seawater Segway theme, which is the rail grinding underwater levels. There's one in the last world and there's one in the first world, I think. Fantastic music. I think the game is really fun to play. I highly recommend it to anyone. It's only on Wii U, unfortunately. So if you want to get it, you have to get it there. Unless it has a PC port, it might do. Check Steam. If it's on PC, get it there. Because it's not worth buying a Wii U for Sonic Lost World. I like it. I still think it's a really good game. I don't think it deserves the flack. And the Wii U exclusive levels, the Zelda one especially, are really fun. It's the most fun I've had with Sonic in 3D since Adventure 2, actually. Even over Generations and Unleashed in Colors, which are this really exhilarating speed gameplay. But unfortunately, it doesn't really feel like you have much control. A lot of it feels kind of automated. Whereas Lost World, I felt like I was in control a lot of the time. It didn't feel like the game took control away from me. And that's one of the reasons I really like Sonic Lost World. I just think it's a really pretty game. It's got this cel-shaded look that's kind of simplistic and at the same time. I brought back the Wisps, I mentioned this earlier on. And they introduced some new ones like the Rhythm Wisp and the Eagle Wisp, but I have no complaints about any of them. Yeah, I think it's a good game. Knuckles and Amy are relegated to supporting roles. The focus is on Eggman, Sonic, and Tails, and their relationships with each other, which is interesting. This is the first time we've seen menacing Eggman as well since Adventure 2, where he threatens to strangle one of the villains out of pure anger, it was great to see. It was great to see Mike Waller play the angry version of the character because he doesn't get the opportunity to do it very often. Yeah, Sonic Lost World, I recommend it. Next one on the list here we have Sonic Advance 1. This game is a lot closer to Sonic 1, I think, than Sonic Advance 2, which again took kind of inspiration from Sonic 2, which is, kind of a quicker, faster game. Sonic Advance 1 is kind of a little bit slower. It has the melee attacks like Advance 2 has. It doesn't have the trick system. It's a lot slower. It's got Neo Green Hill Zone, which is the worst name of any stage in the series. It's a bit of a joke, to be honest. But yeah, I'd recommend it. Sonic Advances goes to solid gameplay. Again, the emerald hunting, it's very weak in this game, and like I mentioned earlier on, it didn't let you play as classic Supersonic in the stages once you got all the emeralds, so it didn't even feel worth it. But if you wanted the last story, you had to. This one didn't have Cream, it only had Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, but it introduced Amy as a playable 2D character, which is the first time for her. Unfortunately, they brought her Sonic Adventure slowness with her, and she's not as fun to play as the other three. They made that better in Advance 3 especially. Yeah, Sonic Advance. You can get it on the Wii U eShop in Japan. I know for a fact, which is I don't know why that hasn't come abroad because it's perfect for hair. It would actually make me plug my Wii U back in if I could play the advanced games on it, but I don't have the Japanese version of the console, so I can't, which is infuriating. Yeah, that aside, I would recommend. I think it's class. I think it's a class game. Sonic Advance is very good. Sonic Rider Zero Gravity is my favorite Sonic racing game, personally. I don't think it's the best one, which is why it's in the B tier and not the A tier, but it's my favorite one. And I'll explain why. I think it took the best parts of the original Sonic Riders gameplay, which had issues with controls, which made a lot of people not like it. And you have to kind of learn the game to enjoy it. And that sounds like it's a basic thing, but a lot of games kind of had this rudimentary control system that, they progressively teach you into playing, which is the right way to do it. Whereas at Sonic Riders, they just kind of let you go free-nilly straight away, without teaching you the mechanics of the game. And they're quite complex. Sonic Riders had very complex gameplay. Sonic Riders Zero Gravity dumbed that down a bit and just made it a 3 gear system. You get more rings, it makes your ride better, which lets you do more tricks, which make it go faster. Um, and it added the gravity mechanic, which when if you're playing the PS2, you had to press button. If it was on the Wii, you'd use the Wiimote, and you'd go into the air, and then you'd launch forward, and you'd be able to bounce off the walls to get more boosts, and you could keep doing it until you hit the floor, and it was really exhilarating. It's really fun. It also had the best story mode of the three Riders games. Without not saying much, but it was the best story mode of the three. I think it had the best interaction with the Babylon Rogues. I think it has the best soundtrack of the three Sonic Riders games. The remix of Catch Me If You Can in Sonic Riders Zero Gravity is fantastic, and Kishel's main theme there, top notch. Ungraffiti was my ringtone on my phone for a long time. It's a decent tune, and yeah, I could go on about Sonic music forever. Graphically, it's not too bad, especially for PS2 and Wii. Looks really good. Looks better than Sonic Unleashed on Wii. Sonic Riders Zero Gravity doesn't get enough credit for how good that game is. The course design is really good too. And obviously it has the guest characters too, like the first one did. Sonic Riders, again, it's only on Wii or PS2, but I'd imagine a lot of people either have a Wii or a PS2 because they're like the best selling consoles of all time. So I'm gonna suspect you might have one, and if you do have one, pick it up, yeah, because it's pretty fucking good. We'll have to talk a bit in length about the next choice, which is Shadow the Hedgehog. Now, Shadow the Hedgehog is a game that makes you play Westopolis 5 times to get the true ending of the game. Alright, so that alone might turn you off playing the game. You have to play the first level 5 times, at least, if you want to get the true ending of the game. You have to play 5 story modes to get the true ending of that game. You have to get both the good and the bad ending in each route to get the last ending in the game. That will turn a lot of people off playing the game, so that's why I said it first. That's the main reason a lot of people don't like the game. But that didn't bug me. There were only 2 stages in that game where it genuinely bugged me to complete it. And they were both the arc levels. And I like Maria. I actually like the kind of the Barbie doll version of Maria that's in this game. It's nice to see her not shot. Yeah, the arc levels in this game. I like the idea. I don't like the end result. Those are the inside of the arc levels now, where you have to heal the soldiers or find all the chaos clones and kill them. Those stages really are terrible. They're awfully designed. And they're like mazes, which I know is the point, but it's just not fun. Negatives are the way good. I think the soundtrack doesn't get the credit it deserves. Cosmic Fall is an amazing track. The Knuckles Canyon levels, Sky Canyon I think is one of them, really good. The remixes of classic themes. There's a remix of the Eggman theme by Jun Sonoy and Paul Shortino in this game, and it's called EGGMAN, Eggman, Dr. Robotnik's Mix, which is the best name for any music track ever, and it will never be topped. The remix is fantastic. You'll find it on YouTube. I think it's on the Black Bear 7 channel. It's so good. It's such a sick beat. Sorry, I just gotta start thinking about how good that song is. I want to play it at my funeral. Yeah, I do like Shadow. I like the gunplay, which I think is really solid. I know it shouldn't be in a Sonic game, to be honest. It really shouldn't. It's completely out of place, but it works really well. The auto lock on is really good. It's never failed me. I think it's got the best grinding mechanics of any Sonic game. I said this on my first video on my first channel. I might link it in the description how bad it is. But I still really like it because I remember the time I put in editing in, I was really proud of it. And one of the points I made in that video was that grinding mechanics are the best in the series in Shadow, and I still stand by that. It's not one of my 10 favorite Sonic games now, evidently by this list, but I still really like it, and I don't think it gets enough credit for how unique it is. And unique, I think, as you've noticed by now, goes a long way with me. A lot of the best 2D Sonic games are kind of copy paste. Even Sonic Mania suffers from that. It only gets the plus up because it was so long since the last really good 2D Sonic game. And that was including Sonic Rush Adventure, which is a game I didn't hate. But Sonic Rush was the last really good one. That was 2005. Sonic Mania obviously came in 2017. Shadow the Hedgehog is a really good 3D platformer in that it also got really fun boss fights. I think it does a good job of exploring the Shadow character and following on from the Sonic Heroes plot where Rouge found the Shadow clones at the end of the game. And it's like, whoa, maybe the Shadow we've been playing as the whole time isn't real. And it explores those themes of reality, self-belief, and self-sacrifice. Um, I will say the thing they did with the plot at the end of the game, where if you have to wait until like 7 minutes into the final boss fight against Black Doom, Perfect Doom, whatever it's called, Eggman will say, "Oh yeah, no, I actually sent out a robot to catch you as you were falling to Earth in Sonic Adventure 2. I just cloned you because you're really powerful." Is basically what he said. So that you're playing as the real Shadow the whole time, which kind of makes a lot of the endings null, which is why a lot of people don't like the game because the plot just basically shits itself at the end. Um, but it's really one of my favorite super fights. Actually, there's Super Shadow versus Perfect Doom. I love that fight. Uh, I think it's a great game. It's also the one that gave us the Find the Computer Room meme, which is one of the greatest memes in any video game of ever, including history and stuff with the step ladder. Shadow the Hedgehog is a game that's available on the original Xbox on PS2, though that's a horrible version of the game. Don't play that version unless you're stuck, and you have to, because I owned that version like 3 times when I was a kid. I kept breaking it because I'm a dope. And I had the GameCube version, and the GameCube version is the best version. I don't think it was re-released on Steam or anything. I don't think you can get it that way. It was a platinum hit on PS2 and on GameCube, so it did really well financially. So it at least had that going for it. I think it's a shame that the like I know it's exaggerated, Shadow swearing every 2 minutes in that game, and every time you use something in the UI of the game, it gives you a gunshot, so it's a bit over the top. And it still has the Dreamcast model of the president in it, which is still hilarious. Um, but it's not a game that deserves it. At least at the base level, I think it works mechanically. And that alone gives it a lot more credit than a lot of Sonic games that are below it on this list. And I have no problem saying that. I don't even think it's a glitchy game. I know the one thing that really disappointed me with Shadow actually is that it toted the fact that it had vehicles. You could ride a motorbike, which kind of became his MO. Shadow always has a motorbike after this. It's in Sonic All Stars Racing. It's just kind of his thing, his gun bike. But it's awful to play as. It's horrible to control, and the same with the cars and the tanks. They're not satisfying to play at all. The vehicles in Shadow are awful, but I think it's balanced out by the fact that the game is genuinely fun, and the people that say it isn't are full of bollocks. It's I don't see it. I don't see what makes this a bad game, but what makes I saw people talk about how great Sonic Force is, and I've got it just below Shadow there in the C tier because that game is the definition of bang average. Like a proper manual embody Adaboyor kind of game. It's perfectly average, but it doesn't put the effort in, so it doesn't deserve the results. That's how I feel about Sonic Forces, which we'll get to in a minute. And I feel Shadow got a lot of that blame too. I don't think it deserved it. And Shadow is a game I recommend on the consoles listed earlier. Sonic Riders. Sonic Riders is a game I can't recommend to people because it's an acquired taste. Much like Freeform Jazz, it's really specific and for a certain audience. For that audience, which is Jet Set Radio fans, basically, it's really fun. It's a really fun racing game with really fun kind of air mechanics, and the music's great, the story mode's fun, just like in Zero Gravity, and the mechanics are very difficult. I can only play it with a GameCube controller. To be honest, I can't play it with a PS2 controller. I have to play it on GameCube. It's the best way to play the game, and I love the course design of that game. It followed the 3 route system of Sonic in a lot of areas, where the upper route gave you items and the lower route was a little bit longer, so it would add time to your laps, and obviously it would struggle you against the PC. The plot's really funny. Eggman has a little scooter that he goes around in. It's as bad as the Pope Mobile. to be honest. And he has a scarf, which reminds me of, again, another Ace Attorney reference. It reminds me of Phoenix Wright in Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations, where when you go back to his college days and he was, all over seeing the girl, and he had a scarf that was just like a, and a little bit off topic, but that's what it always reminds me of. When there's that one clip where Sonic's with on the tornado or whatever with Tails, and he's about to jump into the tracks to race Jet and the Babylon in the sky, and he just it zooms in on Eggman on his little scooter, with the little green trail behind him, and it cracks me up every time. And that alone makes the game a 7 out of 10 recommended. Again, it's on PS2. I don't know if it's on Xbox, but it's on PS2 and GameCube. And it's not been re-released, I don't think. So you have to go back to those consoles to get it. I recommend the game. At least give it a try. I can't recommend it as a game because it's very difficult to get into. So if you can get a version of the game with the instruction manual, or watch the training video in the game, just do a little bit of prep, because if you decide to play the game, you really have to stick with it. It's not something you can just pick up and play like a lot of other Sonic games where it's basically like, oh yeah, run to the end. No, it's a little bit more difficult than that, and you kind of have to work on knowing when to use where air consumption for boosts and tricks. Trick system is very difficult to use in the game, and deciding which character and which type of vehicle you like using in the game. Maybe you like using Knights with the shadow skates, or you like playing as Knuckles on Eggman's Pokemobile scooter. It's a hard sell, to be honest, Sonic Riders, but it did really well. As far as I know, it's the game that sold the best in the games that released in 2006. The Satan year of Sonic, 2006. Yep, the anniversary was a gag. The 15th anniversary, I think it was. Pathetic. And the reaction to this game is also pathetic. It does not deserve the shite that it gets. It's a pretty good game. Sonic 2, I'm not going to talk much about this one very long because you probably played it. If you're watching this video, you probably played Sonic 2. It's available on everything. I'm sure it's available on your toaster. Sonic 2 is faster than Sonic 3, but it's more simple than Sonic 3. It's not got much exploration like CD in 1. It's a lot faster. I think the first half of the game is way better than the second half of the game. I think from after Aquatic Ruin, I think the game takes a nosedive. I think Metropolis Zone is rubbish. Controversially, I think half of Sonic 2 isn't that good, which is why I haven't listed it that high. And it's got the worst special stages in the series, including the advanced games. And I don't like that was the template they used for every game after, basically. I hate the half-pipe. The only game that did it well was Sonic Rush, and Sonic Forces 2 kind of did it okay as well. Sonic 2, I was very quick there, but I think it is a perfectly fine game. I turn it on every now and again, but I never play through to the end. I always stop after Aquatic Room or Hilltop Zone, even after Hilltop Zone, because every stage after it's bloody rubbish. The second half of that game is terrible, and I do not know why not enough people talk about this. I would almost have ranked it lower, but I can't deny, the music's great, the game is super influential. Sonic 2, I'm actually not that big on. I like it, it's not bad. I pick it up and I play it every now and again. But I don't think it's as good as everyone says it used to be. I'd rather play Sonic Rider Zero Gravity or Shadow the Hedgehog before I play Sonic 2. Which will probably turn a lot of you off this video immediately on saying that. But that's where I stand on it. Sonic 2, I recommend it, and you've probably played it already, because it's one of the most iconic video games of all time. But I think it's one of the weakest games in the classic lineup. Speaking of weak 2D Sonic the Hedgehog games, Sonic Adventure 3 introduced a partner system that was akin to Knuckles Chaotix, a game that isn't on this list and I'm not going to talk about. Aside from the fact that it was referenced in an OKKO crossover with Sonic the Hedgehog, which is the most obscure thing in the world that nobody caught, I'm sure. Knuckles Chaotix, what to talk about now. I have nothing to say about that game. Sonic 2, I just talked about that game and I said that it was kind of one of the weaker ones in the classic lineup. I feel that way about Sonic Advance 3. I think it's the weakest one in the trilogy, which is why it's ranked lowest here. The partner system that they kind of pulled from Chaotix and they worked on, it's way more fun than you would think. They obviously is inspired by Sonic Heroes, the success that that game had. And it had full voice acting, I think, Sonic Advance 3, compared to the first two Advance games, which only had like one word, I think, if any. Um, and obviously it introduced the partner system with Sonic. You know, you could combine any characters. It didn't have to be Sonic. You could play as like Tails and Knuckles, or Knuckles and Amy, or Amy and Tails, or Cream and Sonic. You know, and it was fun that way because you saw the way the characters interacted on the selection screen, and it was full of character and it was really cute. But then the game was awful. The level design is dreadful. The music isn't that great. The sprite works pretty good actually for Sonic Advance 3. And there are things it does well, but it's the worst. You have to collect Chow to unlock the special stages in that game, and there's like 7 Chow in every act of every level. I can't recommend Sonic Advance 3. I don't think the game is very good. It's got bottomless pits up the hole. You know, just enemy placements are awful. The stages aren't that fun. Um, there's a lot of full-length reviews on YouTube talk about the reasons Sonic Advance 3 is great. And there are things about that I think are good. And I think this is actually Dean Bristow's last appearance as Dr. Eggman before he passed away. So I want to note that because I think he was a great servant to the character. And he deserves credit for that. He doesn't get enough credit, I don't think, because Mike Pollock's been in the role for so long. A lot of people forget how good he was. And especially with the fan dub going around recently, with the YouTuber doing over Eggman's voice, you kind of really forget how good, you know, Dean Bristow was as the character, and I'd like a lot of more people to say that openly. I think he was really good, and he was the best voice actor in the classic lineup, maybe besides Ryan Drummond, I think. Sonic Advance 3 is, I think it was also re-released in Japan on the Wii U eShop, but not over here. So if you have a GBA, pick it up because it's weird to play Sonic Advance 1 and 2, which are really good games, and then just dropping 3. There's no story consistency between the 3 games, but it'd be weird. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing it myself. So pick up the game if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend it. It would be on my not recommended list. I have it up this high, basically because of comparing it with what it was against. I was thinking maybe I'd rather play Sonic Advance 3 than I would play Sonic and the Secret Rings or Sonic Forces or Sonic 4. So it's kind of only here by process of elimination rather than anything else. So yeah, I would say it's like a 4 out of 10 video game. I wouldn't recommend it, but if you're gonna play it, go in with the headset that the first 2 games are way better anyway. Sonic the Hedgehog 1, another game you probably already played. Again, I mentioned it earlier, it's included in Sonic Generations, so you better just pick up Sonic Generations and play it in that. And it's also in like every collection ever made. Again, you probably played Sonic 1. You used to be able to buy it on text apps and like Sony Ericssons and stuff in the early 2000s. Used to be ads in the telly where you like text SONIC to 5 and you'd be able to get a download code for the game for your flip phone. Remember at the time I knew someone that did it and I was like, oh, you lucky bastard. I was like, I'd be dying to get a hold of that. Sadly it didn't happen. I got my version of Sonic 1. I think my first time playing Sonic 1 was on a plug and play console. It was a plug and play Mega Drive that my mom got me for, I think it was just a normal gift. It was really nice of her. I had like Echo the Dolphin, Streets of Rage, and Golden Axe on it, and I had Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 and Vector Man. Vector Man's a really good game. Sonic 1, I like it. A lot of people, it's gotten worse with age. It's another game that hasn't aged well because a lot of people don't like Marble Zone, and they don't like basically the only two levels that people do like are Green Hill and Starlight Zone. I think it's actually really fun. I think Sonic 1's really good. Again, amazing soundtrack. Um, I like the slower, methodical gameplay too. I know a lot of people don't. You know, pushing blocks in Marble Zone. That's the point that everyone says. Okay, why is this in a Sonic game? Well, it was the first one. They were experimenting. And I think retroactively, with the games that have come out since, that have done the same thing a lot better for a lot of people, it's gotten worse as a result. Like I compare it to maybe Crash 1 and Crash 2, where, Crash 1, it's very hard to go back to that game, even with the insane remake of the game, which is the definitive version of the game. It's still very hard to go back to Crash 1, because it has like those dumb, you know, Egypt like bridge levels. Uh, there's a lot of things with that game that just isn't good, and even the fixes that they made to the game wasn't. The fact that it doesn't have the slide alone is what kills it. And Sonic 1 is kind of that way with the spin dash. It's hard to go back to Sonic 1 without spin dash. But then you play the versions of the game that does have the spin dash, like the Sonic Genesis Sonic Game Boy Advance that came out in 2006. It breaks the game in half. And so it's not Sonic 1 anymore. Uh, so it's kind of a hard sell because of the fact that the games that come out after are better. But there's a lot of things about Sonic 1 that I really like. And again, it's really convenient to get a hold of it. Um, it's worth playing. It's not worth skipping out. It's a piece of history at the very least. Um, and again, I said this straight away, but I think you've all probably played Sonic 1 already. It's one of those games that everyone's played. Everyone's played Pac-Man. Everyone's played Mario 1. I think everyone's played Sonic 1 as well. Even if they didn't play for long, I think they've at least touched the game. I put it here basically because I think it's a solid platformer. I don't think it's a bad video game. It's kind of chilling at the very end of the B, so it's kind of done there at the bottom of the B, and I wouldn't move it up. I still did all the games before, even Sonic Adventure 3, which I just basically just shat on for like 5 minutes. I still play that before I play Sonic 1. But Sonic 1 is a fun video game that's worth playing. Right? This video is getting at like movie territory at this stage. Sonic Spinball. Don't play the Game Gear version because the Game Gear version is a load of rubbish. The Mega Drive version of the game is grand. It's worth playing. It's on a lot of collections that Sega have released. Like the Gems collection, I think it's on that. It's on the Mega Drive collection. They could unlock it in Sonic Adventure DX, unless it's the Game Gear version. Try to avoid the Game Gear version because the Game Gear version is rubbish. But the Mega Drive version is pretty fun. It's not a special, unique pinball game, but it's better than the other pinball game on this list that's way down. Um, it's perfectly good. It's kind of got like a little bit of platforming to it, which is unique for a pinball game. You know, the stages in the game are really cool. I love the Toxic Caves as the first level in that game. I love the music of Toxic Caves. It was in Generations. It was the only song from this game that got into Generations as an unlockable track, and 2 rated it because it's fucking class. I love that tune. Uh, and I think it's a fun game. There's not much to say about it. It's a standard pinball game. You unlock certain bits to unlock further bits. You get the Chaos Emeralds. You beat the game. Tails saves you or whatever at the end. There's like a very loose story in the game. Sonic Spinball is worth playing. It's a great distraction video game. It's not like, oh my god, you have to play Sonic Spinball, otherwise you're discredited to the fan base. The very illustrious Sonic fan base that everyone loves. But it's a game I recommend. I say get a hold of Sonic Spinball. Again, it's very easy to get a hold of it. I think it's even on 3DS, 3DS eShop. So if you still want to play your 3DS, get Sonic Spinball. It's dirt cheap as well. It's a great game. Going a little bit faster, we're into the C tier. Sonic Jump. Sonic Jump is a bang average mobile game. It actually, there was a version that came after, like Sonic Jump Fever, which is way better. But it's not on this tier list, so I just put Sonic Jump there. Sonic Jump's fun. Again, it was actually originally, this is a remake. The version that's on App Stores now is a remake of one that was on the old flip phones that you could also get through download means. My uncle had it. He let me play it. It was on his phone, my Uncle Sean's phone, and he used to always take his phone off when I was small and play it. There's good memories of mine. Sonic Jump it's fine, it's free. I'm gonna say more or less the same thing about all the app games. They're okay. They're like, all right, Paper Toss or Jungle Run. But they're not like, die, oh god, if you don't play this game, you're missing out big time. There's not many mobile games I like anyway. I don't really like mobile gaming, but Sonic Jump it's fine. There's much better games you can play, and why would you bother with Sonic Jump? Like, if the music's not remarkable, the graphics are bang average, the gameplay's not fun. It's not bad, but it's not good. You know, I'd recommend a lot of things over it. In fact, everything in the B, A, and S tier I would recommend over Sonic. It's okay. It's fine. Right, the next one on the list is Sonic Jam. Sonic Jam was another collection, but the reason that it's kind of on its own here is because it had its own hub world kind of thing, which was the first time we had Sonic in 3D fully, besides Sonic 3D Flicky's Island, which is a game that's not on this list. If I were to rank it, I'd put it somewhere in the C tier as well, because I think it's fine. It's not amazing. Um, Sonic Jam, I didn't play a lot of it, to be honest. I didn't play very long, because it's a very obscure game. I didn't own a Sega Saturn. I only played it in the shop for like 20 minutes. Um, but it's still really cool. And it's one of those time pieces. You know, you go back to like, oh my god, okay, so you can see where Adventure came from this. And you can see where Sonic Extreme was going before that was canned. And fucking lashed at the door. That game was looking really good. In an interview, Aaron Webber, who's like a big Sega head with the Sonic division, when he was bigging up Sonic Lost World, he was talking. Some fan asked him if Sonic Lost World was inspired by inspired by Sonic Extreme at all, and he said, yeah, it totally is. It is, yeah, it was, pure. Yeah, this is definitely a big homage to Sonic Extreme, the most famous Sonic cancelled video game of all time. And then whoever was making the game, I think it was Shun Nakamura or Takeshi Iizuka. I was one of the two when they were interviewed. Like, no, what's he on about? He's talking rubbish. That's a lot of waffle. It's just not true. Yeah, so Aaron Webber was kind of like going out of his way to appease the fans there. But I really like Aaron Webber. I wasn't taking the piss out of him there, but um, it was just really funny that he got shut down straight away for saying that. I don't think he commented on it after. Um, it was very funny. I've gotten caught for that a few times where I just said something that's complete bollocks and got caught for it. Um, yeah, so that's it. It's off topic from Sonic Jam. But there's not much to talk about. It's a collection. Not much to say about that. There's a lot of other collections you can play that's better, but Sonic Jam's a timepiece. So go back to it for that alone. Right, next one is a controversial one. We're going to talk about Sonic Forces, which was just free on the PS Plus subscription service, so you probably downloaded it, even if you didn't want to play it, because it's free. It's okay. It's very basic. It felt like a step back after playing Sonic Mania. It was kind of like a snap back to reality. It's like, oh yeah, this is what Sonic Team do. They make a fantastic game and then they make Sonic Forces. Um, yeah, there's a lot of things I like about Sonic Forces. I think some of the humor is really good in Sonic Forces. I think graphically it's really good. I love the Hedgehog engine too. I hope to see it develop more so that we get a really pretty game out of it that's actually fun to play. And it also let Shadow be playable for the first time in Yonks, which was great. I still own it. I got the first print edition, so I got like those little cardboard cards that came with it, um, and a sleeve and some in-game avatar items like there was a knight's costume I got for it, I think, and one for II from Super Monkey Ball, and Joker from Persona 5. uh, he's in everything at the minute, isn't he? He's in Catherine. He's in Smash Brothers. And he's in Sonic Forces as a costume. Yeah, it introduced Sonic OCs, canon Sonic OCs, which is a great idea. It's a great idea to cash grab, and they've done well to cope on that. I think. It's hard to recommend the game. If you download it for free. It's a bargain if it's free. It's okay as a free game. But paying like I paid 40 quid for it when it came out, that was a horrible decision. I just had faith in them. I had a renewed faith because of Mania, and I was very quickly, squashed. Because you felt like it was made bare bones. I think it only had 3 level designers, and you can tell it was a very easy game. It's very, it's very derivative again. They brought back the Egg Dragoon. They brought back Death Egg Zone, which I mentioned earlier, came back later. They brought back Green Hill Zone. They made it Sand Hill from Sonic Adventure. Again, that's brought back too. Chemical Plant came back way. and you just get sick of it. Sonic Force is the one where it starts to feel like, okay, stop bringing back levels and start being inventive again, like you were with Sonic Colors. Um, and I hope they do, because we're all sick of the green lens and the chemical plants and the death eggs. We like more creative stuff, please, Sega. Next on the list is Sonic and the Secret Rings. Now, my buddy Rich Goulding, he likes this game a lot, and we were debating about it the other night. And he was saying, "Oh, it's actually a really good game. I don't know what you're on about. It's actually really fun." And then he hit Sonic Riders, so his opinion is null. If he's still watching at this point, I mean it. I mean what I say. Sonic and the Secret Rings is a really pretty game for the Wii, especially considering how early it came out on it. And it's got a really fun story actually. I really like Razor Jin as a villain. And it's got this amazing track, which is the credits theme of the game by Steve Conte. Um, that I recommend. I recommend listening to the soundtrack for Sonic and Secret Rings because it's fantastic, as is a lot of soundtracks for the Sonic series. Um, but it's not a remarkable game. It's really awkward to control a game with the Wii mode. It's got like a Sonic Shuffle mode, like a party mode. That's really fun. Actually, it's way more fun than Sonic Shuffle itself. That's not on this list, but I wouldn't count it anyway because it's not worth playing. So I'm worth talking about. The mini game mode in this game is better than the whole lot of Sonic Shuffle. Uh, yeah, there's not much I want to say about Sonic and the Secret Rings. It's perfectly fine. If you can handle the shy controls, like it's not difficult controls like Sonic Riders to get used to. It's just bad controls. You have to push the Wiimote closer to you if you want to move Sonic back. Sonic shouldn't have to move backwards. In 3D, he shouldn't have a reverse button. Uh, he has a time stop move that basically turns him into Bayonetta, but it slows him down as well, so it doesn't even feel like Witch Time. And he has a speed break mode, which is kind of like Shadow's Chaos Control in Shadow the Hedgehog, but worse because because it's not fun to use because Sonic and the Secret Rings is not a very fun video game. And I mean that with every word. I do not think it's worth playing, so don't play it. It's it's the Kerry of Sonic video games. Sonic Dash 2, Sonic Boom. Literally, all I have to say about this game is that you should play Sonic Dash 1 instead because the character roster is better. Sonic Dash 2, Sonic Boom, is bang average, like every other mobile game. Thank you for listening. Sonic Heroes. Sonic Heroes is a game that a lot of people love and a lot of people hate. It's very Marmite. It's considered the start of the downfall of Sonic. I said this in again that funny older video, that it started the age of darkness for Sonic, and it did, because a lot of the ideas from this game were kind of carried into the worst Sonic games later on, which are at the bottom of this list. Again, I'm only gonna touch on them briefly because time is money, and this video is already nearly like an hour and a half long, an hour 20 minutes. Jesus Christ, like, if you're still listening, why? But yeah, Sonic Heroes again had the team mechanics which were inspired by Knuckles Chaotix probably, um, and I think it worked pretty well. I'd like to see it done again in a better Sonic game. Some of the stages are really creative, and that's one of the points that Rich Goulding makes to me when he talks about this game. He says, this game had really cool stages, and it really felt like classic Sonic, and I can see where he was coming from with that. But my big problem with Sonic Heroes, and this is the reason why I rank it so lowly, is because you have to play the game 4 times, the whole game through 4 times, just like you have to do with Shadow the Hedgehog, except with Shadow you get different levels. With Sonic Heroes you have to play the same levels every time, like 4 times. Either like an easy mode version, a difficult version, a bang average version, or missions with Team Chaotix. And not any time can I recommend it. It's not fun. After you play it, like if you play it once, once through with Team Sonic, it's perfectly fine. If you play through it again with Team Dark, it's not like a more satisfying. It just makes the levels a little bit more difficult. There's more enemies. There's more bottomless pits. But it's not like it changes the level design or anything. It's still largely the same. Team Rose does change the level design, but it makes the stages half as long and not as fun because there's no challenge because they're broken. And then Team Chaotix just have you like looking for crabs in Seaside Hill or blowing out torches in Hang Castle, which is like the most boring thing in the world. And you have to do all of it if you want to get the last story. With a Metal Overlord, which is a Metal Sonic's big evil transformation. And the plot of the game is pretty fun. And the music of the game is fantastic. There's no sense going on with that because everyone knows that Sonic Heroes has an amazing soundtrack. And if you want to get it, it's on PS2, it's on Xbox, and it's on GameCube. The PS2 version's a bit shit, but that was kind of the case for all the Sonic games. I don't know what happened there. The porting process just didn't go well with the PS2. But Sonic Heroes, it's definitely the best game, I think, in the C tier I have here. I shouldn't have put it there, to be honest. It's somewhere between the B and the C tier to me, like a minus B, you know. But I'm not gonna go on about it because if I keep going on about it, it'll be forever. Sonic Heroes isn't that great, but it's not bad, which is why it's in C tier. C is not bad. Sonic 4 Episode 1 and Sonic 4 Episode 2. Episode 2 wasn't listed here, but I'm just gonna plop it in because I kind of put it in the same place. Because my thing with Sonic 4 is that I think it's a perfectly fine video game to ROM through. I own it on the Wii, so you can't buy it on the Wii anymore, but I have it on the Wii. You can get it on mobile phones. The mobile phone version is a bit rubbish, and you can get it on consoles. If you have Sonic 4 Episode 1 and 2, you get Episode Metal, which is a Metal Sonic focused stage, is worth mentioning. You get that for free. It's just a couple of levels from Sonic 4 Episode 1, but you play as Metal Sonic, who's just a skin. He doesn't have any unique traits, but there's this cute little story with Eggman bringing him back to life from Stardust Speedway in Sonic City. With Sonic 4 Episode 1, I think that it's graphically a bit ugly, but it's got great music. The level design's okay, but it's very basic. It's the Sonic Advance games are better, and the classic 2D Sonic games are better too. With Sonic 4 Episode 2, actually, it has better level design. It's better visually also, but then the detriment is that I feel like it's easier and it's shorter, and it brought back the team mechanics from Knuckles Chaotix and Sonic Advance 3 kind of, because you have to play with Tails, and you've got like combo moves and stuff, and a lot of level design forces you to use him, so then it starts feeling a little bit more derivative and less fun. So I think there are things that both games excel at and both games kind of take away, which is why I kind of pair them in the same place. I would argue maybe Sonic 4 Episode 2 is just a little bit better, but it's not like they're still kind of in the same spot. It's like a 5.1 and a 5.0. They're both okay. If you can get two of them for like 15 quid, it's worth it. But if you're paying more than 10 quid each, no, it's not. Yeah, you know where to get them. They're on the PS Store and the Xbox Store. They're largely they weren't released physical. They're largely digital downloads. I recommend them, but like barely recommend them. If you're already a Sonic fan, I recommend them. But don't go in expecting this big thing from Sonic 4, which you should do because it's got the title of Sonic 4. But it's not the real Sonic 4. Sonic Advance or Sonic Mania, they're the real Sonic 4. Sonic 4 is just Sonic's first HD adventure in 2D. Sonic Boom Fire and Ice for the Nintendo 3DS is actually really fun. I probably should have put this. I would have put this in the minus B tier as well. That I would put Sonic Heroes. I think it's really fun. I think it's the best Boom game by a country mile. I think it's good fun. It's got a very decent soundtrack. The story mode is hilarious because the Boom Raiders are top notch. The in-game models are a little bit trashy. Especially in cutscenes, they look very ugly. If they're not pre-rendered, they're ugly as sin. The in-game models aren't great. And it's got the worst unlockable thing in the world. I think it's like an Amy's Dance Party or something if you unlock everything. It's so stupid. But the game itself is really fun. It has got like Sonic Rivals-esque races, which are really fun. More fun than Sonic Rivals, games that aren't listed on this list, and they won't be addressed after this because I think they're both bang average. They're like minus C tier video games. With Sonic Boom Fire and Ice, it took the best things. Sanzero Games developed this. They made Sly Cooper 4 for PS Vita, and they made the first the 3DS title in the Sonic Boom franchise, Shadow Crystal, which is down there at the bottom, and I'll mention why now. So then when we get there, I can just say, look below, look earlier. It forces completion. You have to go through the levels and explore them like 90% each time just to get through the level, and it takes hours and it's boring and the gameplay isn't fun. and the level design focuses on exploration, so it's like a Metroidvania, which doesn't suit Sonic. The only game that kind of suited that was Tails Adventure, which is kind of like a Metroidvania, but it was slower and it worked like that. It didn't give you the idea that it was going to be a Sonic game in the first place because they put the focus on Tails. So that's why Tails Adventure worked, and it was shorter. It's the best Sonic game on the Game Gear, I think, actually, even over Sonic Triple Trouble. Um, a Tales Adventure, I recommend that game. That's actually like a B tier game. It's actually really fun. Um, Sonic Boom Fire and Ice. Uh, it's still like 40 quid in the shops. Every time I go to a shop, obviously I've been in lockdown lately, so I haven't gone to the shop in a while. But when I've gone to a GameStop or like a Smith's, it's always still like 35 quid to get Sonic Boom Fire and Ice, which is which is ridiculous because it's not worth that. It's like a 20 quid 3DS game, but it's still really fun, and it's the best Boom game by a country mile. I recommend it. It's only on 3DS. It's the only place you can get it. But if you want to get it, you should, because it's actually really good. Sonic R. I unironically think this is a fun racing game. Uh, I ironically a little bit think the soundtrack is amazing. T.J. Davis and Sonic R Man, he who shall not be named. No, Richard Jocks. His name is Richard Jocks, and he's kind of rubbed the Sonic fan base the wrong way lately. I'm not gonna go into it, but there's a phrase we associate with him now. Um, After what Gareth from Find the Computer Room said, it kind of went viral among the Sonic community, and we all say the same thing when we talk about Richard Jocks. And I doubt he's going to be working on further Sonic projects. I worry Team Sonic Racing will be the last one he's on. And it's a shame because he's a really good music composer. But unfortunately, it turns out he's a dreadful human being. And Sonic R is his baby because he got really riled up about it, and not rightfully so, but I can see why, because the soundtrack for this game is really special. It's so unique, and TJ Davis is an amazing vocalist. As a game, if you're gonna get it in the Sonic Gems collection, because it's only 5 stages, and it's only got like six playable races and then like 4 extra ones. It's hard to recommend Sonic R, but it's really fun if you do play it. The controls are a bit wonky. It was the only major Sonic game on the Sega Saturn. Obviously we mentioned Sonic Jam earlier on, and that game was just a collection with an overworld, but the overworld was important. Sega Saturn is Sonic R is the only true kind of Sonic game on that console, and it's fun. Every character plays a little bit different. Sonic has his jump and stuff. Tails can fly, Knuckles can glide, Eggman can shoot missiles. Amy can drive over water in her car. And all the Metal Sonic and Tails doll, ooh, and Mecha Knuckles, which came back in Sonic Advance. Um, they can just kind of fly over. I think you can also play as an egg robo, if I'm remembering correctly. The game plays an egg robo as well from Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Sonic R is a fine racing game. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not something I can recommend if you're gonna get it on its own. You're gonna have to get it at Sega Gems collection with Sonic the Fighters, which is a really fun Sonic game. Also, I think that was an arcade fighting game. It's really fun, and it's like Virtua Fighter and Fighting Vipers combined. It's really sick. And the other game was Sonic CD, which is I already mentioned about how much I love that game. It's not the Christian Whitehead version because obviously it came in the Gems collection on GameCube years before, but I recommend it. Sonic R is a perfectly fine game. Play it. You should. Quality video game, I'd say it's like a 5 out of 10, but as it's a fan favorite, so I kind of look at it more positively. It's low on this list because of what it actually is, but I have a soft spot for it. I really do. And we're wrapping up the video. I'm really close to the end of the video because we're getting to movie length, like true movie length. We're like clocking around Iron Man time at this stage. Sonic and the Black Knight. What do I say about this game? Merlina's a bitch. She's a ghoul. Your Sword Excalibur is really funny. The way the cutscenes are presented is really cool. It's better than, well, no, I ranked it lower here. It's got a better soundtrack than Sonic and the Secret Rings, which already had a good soundtrack. But the gameplay, the stage design isn't as unique. The Arthurian legend thing didn't really do it for me. No, I can't prove it. The lady Amy is the lady of the lake and stuff. It was an okay video game, you know. There was this really weird quick time event thing you had to do to get high ranks and levels where you had to like talk to villagers and give them your rings, then press buttons, in kind of God of War style to get the quick time event to go, and then they would give you like friendships like in Mortal Kombat friendship, and that would build up your count. And if you had like loads of followers by the end of it was like really weird. Um, I will say Sonic and the Black Knight has an amazing remix of Believe in Myself, which is Tails' theme, and it's the workshop theme in this game. Uh, Bloody fantastic. Give it a listen on YouTube. It's really good. But sadly, I would say it's the best thing with Sonic and the Black Knight. Eggman isn't even in it. It's not in. He's not in this game, which immediately deranks it as the worst Sonic game ever made. Sonic Dash 1. It's a lot like Sonic Dash 2, Sonic Boom, except better because it has a better roster. Um, but it's an autorunner. It's a mobile autorunner. It's a bang average video. I'm going to say this about all the mobile games. This, of course, being the last one. It's a bang average mobile game. There is nothing else I can say about this game other than if you're sick of paper toss or playing Ludo on Facebook, it's alright. It's 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 a functional mobile game. How about that? Sonic Drift 2, the superior drifting game. I actually have this a tier above Sonic Drift 1, because I think it's a better game. It made a lot of improvements on the first one. It's one of the better games on the Game Gear. I think it's actually like it's a perfectly it's a lot like the original Outrun. It's a lot like the original Outrun. Um, it's an arcade racer. They misspelled Knuckles' name in this. They spell like Nuckles. They didn't put in the K for Knuckles at the start. Um, which always makes me laugh. It has Fang the Sniper in it, I think. Sonic Drift 2, I played this originally on the Sonic Gems collection as well, actually, I think. Um, yeah, it's way better than the first one. The first one is barely functional. This one actually has like, proper maps and cups, and it's quite a meaty game for a Game Gear game. It's not got a story, but it's got like really good cups, and the roster is a lot better. It's all around it made a lot more improvements, and the soundtrack's actually okay. Not something I'd recommend to listen to because the Game Gear sound was awful. Literally, there's one good song from the Sonic Game Gear, and that's the Bridge Zone song from Sonic 1 on Game Gear. Recommend that. Can't recommend anything else about Sonic Drift 2. Um, Again, if you get the Gems collection already for CD or for Sonic R, then you'll get it anyway. Or if you get Sonic Adventure DX, you'll unlock it probably, and recommend it that way. We can talk about Sonic Pinball Party next, and then I'm going to be pretty brief on this one. I actually got this one through the combo pack, which was something my mom got me for one of my birthdays. I think it might have been 2007. It might have been earlier. It might have been birthday 2006. Yeah, it might have been my birthday 2006 because I think it was the year Leon Lewis won. uh, yeah, she got me the combo pack which had Sonic Advance and Sonic Pinball Party, and it's really fun. It's a really fun video game. It's a lot more pinball-y. It's got a lot of guest characters. It's got like Samba de Amigo and Nice and stuff in it. Um, and there's boards based on those properties aside as well as Sonic. Um, I don't have much to say because I didn't really play I didn't play it very much. I got it in the combo pack, but it was like the game I played less of the two. I beat it once I think with Knuckles, and then I just didn't play it again after that because there's a story mode there with like cutscenes and stuff, but it's not voiced. It's just text boxes. Uh, it's okay. It's not a bad game, but it's in the C tier for a reason. It's alright. I'd play it over the mobile games. I don't know why I have below them. But it's not something I would go to. If you're gonna get it in the combo pack with Sonic Advance on Game Boy Advance, because it's the only way. It's not been released. It's the only way to play the game. And you'll love it. It's an okay distraction, just like Sonic Spinball is. But I think Sonic Spinball feels more like a game and is genuinely fun. Whereas it feels like you're playing an actual pinball machine, which is okay for like a minute. But like you just throw your euro into it or your 50 cents into it, and then you just play it once, and then you move on. You know, you don't spend too many tokens on it. That's kind of what it feels like. It's a pinball game, you know. Sonic Battle, I'm also going to be very brief on because I'm not fond of this game. Everyone loves it, and everyone's looked back on it kind of fondly because yeah, I don't know, maybe it reminds people of Mario Strikers, which is like a kind of the same kind of edgy art style. Uh, it was important for Sonic Advance 3's plot, which is really stupid because it introduced E Merle or G Merle, and obviously they become one of the main villains that Eggman uses in Sonic Advance 3. But it's not that good. It's got a story mode, focused obviously on Cream and Emerald. They adapted this plot in Sonic X, which is kind of more for what I know it for. Um, yeah, it's kind of why I know it because the game itself was like a bang average kind of fighting game. It played a bit like Power Stone. It's a little bit like Power Stone. You're on a map, kind of shifting, and you're fighting. You have to run up to each other to fight each other. Um, but if you're gonna play a game like that, just play Power Stone. It's way better. we need we need Capcom to bring Power Stone back. You can only get it on Sonic Events. Again, it's another one of those Sonic games that haven't been re-released. There's a lot of Sonic games that just have been lost to the sense of time, and I think Sonic Battle is one of those. It's got a pretty good soundtrack though, and the sprite work is okay. Um, but I'd play all the other advanced games over this. I'd play Pinball Party over this. It's like the worst game, man, from Sonic on the Game Boy Advance, in my opinion. Tis a bit rubbish. Onto the bottom tier. The shite tier. This is the Bumder tier. Bumda tier. And we're going to kick off with Sonic 06. And I'm just going to zoom through these. Sonic 06, you know why I put it down here because it's a mess. It doesn't work. The game doesn't work. Functionally, it's awful. It's impossible to get through like Silver's Storm without glitching. There's a specific level that nobody plays with a ball puzzle because everyone just goes through the the wall to get to the goal because no one wants to play the level. If you don't want to play the level in the game, it's not a good game. Sonic 06 has an amazing soundtrack, um, but that's the only thing that's good about it. There's only one game here where I don't think there's one positive for, and that's why it's down here. The reason that this is down here in the D tier is because it's deep dog shit. It doesn't work. It ruined a lot of plot elements. It made the characters kind of gross. The game's unfinished. Um, there's not much I can say. Like the reason I don't like Sonic 06 is the reason a lot of other people don't like Sonic 06. It just doesn't work. It's not a functional video game, and its loading screens are up the hole. It's fucking nonsense. It gets me a little bit mad thinking about this game. To be honest, it's just not very good at all. Sonic 06 is it's a joke. People like it now because it's a joke. It's an actual joke. Next one I have here is probably the most controversial pick on my list, and that is Sonic Unleashed. I'm counting Sonic Unleashed here as well because I played every version of the game except for the mobile version. I have nothing to say about that one because I haven't played it. I just know it exists, and it's sprite work based, which is hilarious. Um, Sonic Unleashed has the best opening of any video game ever made, but that's where it ends. That's the best thing about Sonic Unleashed, because after that, uh, the game shits itself. The metal collecting is awful. The nighttime stages are awful because the Werehog doesn't have a drop shadow. It feels like Aldi Devil May Cry when you play the fighting. The theme tune to the battle music is awful. You know the da 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 da, and then it kicks off. And just you'll hear it in your nightmares. It's awful because it interrupts the good music in the game to play that shite battle music. It drives me to fucking tears when I think about it. Sonic Unleashed, it's better on PS2 and Wii, but that's like saying, okay, this shite is shinier than the other piece of shite. Because they got rid of the overworld and replaced it with like PNGs of the characters that you talk to. You don't even go, you don't even go to an overworld. You go to like a little shrine thing that you pick the levels from, whereas Sonic Unleashed full, you know. The best thing about Sonic Unleashed is that the final boss against the Light Gaia is Punch Out, and That's the most positive thing I can say about the Sonic. Sonic Unleashed console's opening is one of the greatest things ever done, and the Sonic movie should have been animated like that. Instead, I had Fortnite dancing there. But I actually really like the Sonic movie, but that's because it could have been a lot worse, and we saw a little bit of what it could have been. So I think I ended up liking it more because it wasn't shite. But if it was in the style of the opening to Sonic Unleashed, I think I could have died a happy man. Sonic Unleashed, I think I would rank it like a 5 out of 10. So that's D, that's passable. But on this tier list, it's considered bad because there's no F tier or E tier, and I wouldn't put in these in F because I think there's positives about it. The only games that I would put in E or F are ones that cannot find any positives for, and there's positives there with Sonic Unleashed, but I can't enjoy it. I don't like that game at all. I hope I kind of give an idea why I don't like Sonic Unleashed. I think the metal collecting is awful. The game's laggy as fuck. The Werehog isn't fun. It feels like shitty Devil May Cry. The music is constantly fighting over itself to be played. The another thing I didn't mention, the Sky Chase zones, the quick time events with Tails, awful. No fun at all. Made an absolute joke, one of the most fun things that happened in Sonic Adventure 1. And I also really don't like Chip. I think Chip is really annoying and he shouldn't replace Tails. Sonic Unleashed is not good. It is average. Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood is an RPG created by the B team at BioWare. BioWare known for Mass Effect and stuff. A Sonic RPG made by the lads of BioWare. What the fuck? It was so strange at the time, and it's strange now. But I can't bring myself to recommend this game either. It's got the worst soundtrack of any Sonic game. The one thing that this game is remarkable for is that it was the second major appearance of the general or the commander character from Shadow the Hedgehog. The fella that has the multicolored eyes, who points a gun at Shadow and tries to kill him. And then Shadow's like all edgy and he's like, think about what you've done and all this kind of stuff. And he walks away, and then he just falls. The general commander falls to his knees, like thinking, "Oh no, what have I done?" Because he was friends with Maria as a child. Now he's the commander of Gun, and he's best friends with the president from the Sonic Adventure 2. Yeah, that was he was in this game, which is why this game is important, because he was commanding Rouge, I think, from a gun facility in game. This game also had Green Hill Zone. Green Hill Zone came back in this game too. Can't get enough Green Hill Zone. Sonic Chronicles is a rhythm based, so you have to use the stylus. It's only on the DS, by the way. It's only released on the DS. You have to use the stylus to control. Now it had an okay battle system, but it wasn't fun. It wasn't engaging. It was very monotonous. It was basically like you drag the stylus wrong, or you tap the screen loads of times to do attacks, and if you messed up any input, it would null the move and it wouldn't work, and then you wouldn't do any damage and you wasted your turn, which is like a criminal sin in an RPG, and it ruins the experience. The roster of the game is really large, and I think it has actually really good writing. I think Sonic the Dark Brotherhood has really good writing, but it has no voice acting really. I think the lads that wrote the plot at BioWare actually did a really good job, because I thought it was a really engaging story. It felt like something out of the Sonic comics, or like Sonic ZAM, but with modern characters. And it had a really large roster. It had like Sonic, Tails, Knuckles were in it, Shadow, Eggman were all playable, Amy, Cream, Big were all playable. Omega was playable as well. He was actually not a mandatory either. He was a secret unlockable character. It's genuinely like a really fun game that I would. I'm praising it out of nostalgia from my youth. It's actually not a very good video game, and it's got like the final boss against the General Zord or whatever his name was. His name was like Zord or something. He was the kid now with like the glowy eyes, and he was like white and grey, and you fight him with Supersonic, and when you beat the game, it just says, "Do you want to play the game over with the Sonic at the level that you at his level?" Because it has a leveling system, because it's an RPG. At his level, when the game resets, so you start over Green Hill Zone again. but this time Sonic's fully leveled up, so you can piss on the enemies when you're running through the New Game Plus. And I thought that was the biggest disappointment in the world after I beat the game. We just reset the game basically, like Mario 1. It's like, press B to start over from scratch. That's kind of what it felt like, and it wasn't rewarding at all. And this was a video game that was released in like 2007. So, Mario 1 can get away with it because it was released in 1987. How was it? 1987 or 1984? I think it was 87. No, it was 84. I think it was 84. In the mid 80s, Super Mario Brothers came out, and that game was, you could excuse it having a reset ending. I don't think you can excuse Sonic Chronicles. It was a major RPG that BioWare tried to make, and it's got a good art. No, it's not good. It's not got a good art style. I'm praising things that aren't right about the game. It's got a fun plot, I think. I think the characterization is really good in that game. But there's not much I can praise other than that. I spent a lot of time talking about Sonic Chronicles, actually. I feel really strongly about this game, surprisingly enough. Now, a game I don't feel very strongly about is Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, which had some pretty funny-ish cutscenes, and that's it. Anytime anyone thinks about this game, Bounce Pad, or Game Grumps talking about like some tree phasing out, or Knuckles being stupid. This game, they pissed on the Sonic fanbase again. Just after we got out of the worst of it, and we were getting kind of back on track. A lot of people didn't like Sonic Lost Over. Everyone thought, okay, it's at least a functional video game, and everyone liked Sonic Generations, and everyone thought Sonic 4 Episode 2 was okay, and it looked like we were on the up and up. And then this came out, and the whole thing fell apart again. And the whole Sonic Boom franchise shat itself and died. And it's a shame, because it could have been something special, because the TV show is something special. The writers of that show are something special. And unfortunately, the games were also special, but not the kind of special that lets you have a third season of a really funny TV show. Instead, it's the kind of thing that makes you move on to doing animated YouTube shorts, because it's cheaper and it's less likely to cause controversy. Yeah, this game, I don't like it because it's ruined. It ruined the chance of it, because the Sonic Boom franchise could have been so. I hated the designs of the characters when I first saw it. I really, really did. I saw Boom Knuckles and I nearly threw up. And to be honest, I still don't like that design, but I got over it because Travis Whittingham's performances as his character on Sonic Boom cartoon show, and even in the cutscenes in Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, really good. And I think he played his character like he's the best he's ever done. He was also really good in Lego Dimensions. If you watch him in that, he even sings along to the raps from Sonic Adventure 2, which is hilarious. But yeah, I'm not gonna talk anymore about Sonic Boom, because if I do, I'm gonna end up getting sad again, because I feel nothing towards this game. It's functional. It's glitched up the whole, but after the patch, it became functional. So it's not even entertaining to talk about how messed up it was at launch. The flying Knuckles glitch and Cliff disappearing when you were talking to him and stuff. There's not much I can say about Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. It was a mistake. Here lads, here's another game that was a mistake. We're talking about Sonic Free Riders, the third title in the Sonic series, Sonic Rider series, and the one that killed it. The opening theme, Free, I think Tony Harnell sings it. Awful. And that's kind of the best thing about Sonic Free Riders, and this is a positive for the game. It's really pretty. It's a really pretty game to work with. But the reason that it failed is because it was tied to the Kinect, and the Kinect is awful. It's the worst thing in the world. Not one game utilized that well, in my opinion. Not Zumba Pets, not Dead Rising 3, nothing. Kinect is awful. And Sonic Free Riders put all its eggs in it. If it just had a normal control scheme, it could have been really fun. Because the courses look really fun in that game, but you have to control it with your fucking body. I'm too fat for that. I'm not gonna fucking do that. And no one else did too either, because nobody fucking bought it. And so, like, the two major sins the game made was that it was forcing you to play Kinect, and it was forcing you to play Xbox to play Kinect. So it was on the Xbox One. No, it was on the 360, and it came out with Kinect. So it was towards the end of 360's life cycle. I think it came out in 2010. I think it was the last Jason. No, it was the first Roger Craig Smith era Sonic game. So it was just before Colors, I think, just before or after Colors. We just got the new cast in anyway, and just after Colors or just before Colors, it was around the time when a really bright spark came up and then just went back down. I think John Tron did a video on it, if I'm remembering right. Sonic Free Riders is a piss take of a video game, and the fact that it like a lot of people don't like Sonic Riders 1. I defend that game, and a lot of people don't like Sonic Riders 2, and I defend that game. I can't defend Sonic Free Riders. That game is a joke. Yeah, the one positive for that game, and the reason that it isn't a tier below, is because it's a really pretty game. And the modeling is really good. And the characterization's okay. So Sonic Free Riders at least has that. So it has a positive. It has a positive that I can talk about in that video game. Sonic Boom Shadow Crystal. I talked about this briefly already, so I'm going to be quite quick on this one. The reason the Sans Over games kind of fucked this one up and made it better with Fire and Ice is that they tried to make this one a Metroidvania. It didn't work. It forced exploration in a Sonic game. And I talked earlier about how this could be done well in Sonic CD. Because it wasn't forced completion, it gave you options. The game gave you options. You could just zoom through the level if you want to, or you could explore. This restricted you to one, exploration. And if you're going to restrict one of the two, you go for movement with Sonic, you don't go for exploration. I like exploration in Sonic, but that's only if it's in tandem with the option to also speed through the levels. Sonic CD offers that. Sonic Boom Fire and Ice has that for you also. But Sonic Boom Shadow Crystal does not. And that's the reason that game bombed. You can still get it on 3DS now if you want to. But don't, because it's shit. Sonic Drift 1 is terrible. It's the worst racing game in the series. It's got like 4 playable characters. It's got like 7 levels. You can't see what's happening in front of you. The way the mapping works in that game is it's awful. If you're gonna play a Sonic Drift game, play Sonic Drift 2. That Sonic Drift 2 is really good. Sonic Drift 1 is a piss take. Likelihood is, if you're playing Sonic Drift 2, you're playing it on the Mega Drive, or you're playing Sonic Adventure DX, or you're playing it in the Sonic Gems collection. And if you are, Sonic Drift 2 is there as well, so play that instead. Right, so lads, you think I am done, but there's actually one more game I want to talk about that's not on this list, and that there's a couple of games I mentioned earlier that aren't on this list, and Knuckles Chaotix, Sonic 3, Flicky's Island, the Sonic Rivals games. There's a bunch of Sonic games that aren't here, but if you were about every single one, like say Sonic the Hedgehog, or Sonic School House, or Sonic Popcorn Machine, or Waku Waku Sonic Racing, it would be on forever about every single Sonic game. I don't have an opinion on every single one. But I do have an opinion on this one, and this is my least favorite Sonic game. It's not on this tier list, so I want to address it specifically. If there was an extra tier, I would put it on it, because there is not one positive about this video game. The Sonic Labyrinth. Sonic Labyrinth is the worst Sonic game ever made. I think it's worse than the glitchy Sonic 06. I think it's worse than the glitchy Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. I think it's worse than Shadow Crystal. I think it's worse than Sonic Free Riders. I think it's worse than Sonic Drift. I think it's worse than Sonic Chaos on Game Gear. I think it's worse than Sonic 2 on Game Gear. It's awful. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's got not one redeeming factor. The plot's stupid. Eggman steals Sonic's shoes to make him go fast and replaces them with slow shoes, metal shoes, while he's asleep, that make him go really slowly, and he has a spin dash to move everywhere. It's in 3D. It's a puzzle game. You have to collect keys. It's so bad. I cannot. The soundtrack is shit in Sonic Labyrinth. Nobody that's the one thing that saves a Sonic game from being an F. Keep getting D's. The music's really good, or the music's, got something special about it. Sonic Labyrinth has nothing. That game has nothing. There's not one saving grace that video game has. So I'm going out of my way to talk about this because I hate it with a passion. Sonic Labyrinth is my least favorite Sonic game. In fact, I hate it. I despise it. I think it's the worst. It's the Bob's Burgers of. No, it's the Roy of Sonic games. It's so bad. It's fucking dreadful, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, to be honest. I'd happily rather watch Liverpool win the league than I would play Sonic Labyrinth. You know, I'll sit there with a bunch of Liverpool fans and I'll be like, yes, finally, Liverpool won the league. It's been so long. Thank God. But I would not touch Sonic Labyrinth with a 5-foot pole. You can unlock it in Sonic Adventure DX, I think, if you're morbidly curious. You can buy it in the 3DS eShop, and it's also in the Gems collection. But why would you play it? Do you hate yourself? Why do you hate yourself so much? Get counseling, because you should get counseling before you play Sonic Labyrinth, because you're making a terrible mistake and you'd regret it for the rest of your life. And I mean that. I really do. And that's the end of this video. You know, very sour note to end on, but it's a tier list, so if you're going down progressively, I probably should have gone up to end on a positive note in retrospect. Retrospect is a powerful weapon. I've been talking for 2 hours about fucking Sonic the Hedgehog. Let alone, you know, I'm not going to get those hours back. And you probably aren't either if you waited this long. If you did, why? I appreciate it, but why? Yeah, so that's where I stand on these Sonic games listed here. There's a bunch of others I didn't talk about because I didn't want to talk about, or they weren't on the tier list, and I just didn't have enough of an opinion on. Cheers for listening, lads. Really, really appreciate it. And listen, things are a bit rough at the minute, so I just want you to stay safe. Yeah, stay safe. Cheers. Talk to you later. Bye.